Hello everybody. Boomer says hi. Don't forget, if you are watching the replay, feel free to tap the screen and you can still give hearts. Hello. Looks like Scooby was here. Excuse me. Kaylin's here. Hey Kaylin, how are you? Kundunkia, I can't pronounce your name. Hey, a bunch of people are jumping on. Awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Knucklehead, K9, Tony, how are you? Nice, glad you guys are here. Howdy, how Scooby 315, I think. And Darren jumped on. Thank you for being here. Hey there. Hey. Oh, is your name Kim? The one whose name I tried to say? You typed in Kim. Is your name Kim? I'm just curious. Hello, hello. Carrie Hayes is here. Hey, Carrie, how are you? Awesome. How's everybody doing? Awesome. Perfect. I can remember you because we have the same name. My name's Kim also. And if you are new to me, I'm curious if you're new. Can you type new? I'm just curious to see. Some names came through. I felt like I didn't really recognize some of the names as they came up. And I kind of like to keep tabs. Some people are new. Awesome. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for saying, too, that you're new and not just hiding or lurking in the background. So I appreciate that. Welcome very much. I'm so glad that you're here. Awesome. Thanks so much. Old. Okay, you're old. No problem. Awesome. You guys, I always like to take a minute, too, to introduce myself. My name is Kim. As you just heard, and I own a dog training company called Paws and Possibilities, and I am the creator of our online dog training program called Manners Matter, and we specialize in teaching dogs to have good manners. So I'm here tonight just really to help, to be of service to you, to help you with your dogs. I'm going to answer whatever questions that you have to the best of my ability. And so if you guys, Sherry's here. Welcome, Sherry. Thanks for being here. You love my scopes. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. That means a lot to me. I feel like I've been a little out of the loop. I was super busy last week with lots of training dogs. So it was, honestly, it was a little harder to fit the scopes in. It must have been Tuesday night this week. I had 8 dogs here at my house. So that's a lot. I was busy. And Scooby, thanks so much for inviting people. Awesome. Thank you for being here. I'm going to ask you a huge favor. If you're on my scopes and you want to comment, I love it. If you could comment in English, I would appreciate that because it's the only language I understand to read. Your treat training, is that okay to continue or should I change? Treat training. I'm going to say that's perfect. I use treats all the time when I train. So awesome. Keep up the good work. And Scooby, I remember you were on the other day and Evan was reading my comments and all, and we got off the scope. I think he even said to me, like, you didn't ask Scooby what Scooby's name was. You have to ask Scooby next time you see Scooby what their name is. So I'm asking you, Scooby, what your name is. If you don't mind sharing, that would be fabulous. I would appreciate it. Scott. Thank you, Scott. So it's just so funny when we got off that scope. Evan was like, you should have said something to Scooby and found out who he was. So thank you for coming back. I'm so glad that you're here. And listen, I'm literally hanging out. I've got, you want to see, it's just my dog. So we're down to like only 3, which makes it feel like a super easy night on my end. You are glad to be here. Thank you, Scott, for being here. So we have Abby and Molly and Boomer. Boomer started the scope. I'll show you actually real quick. So we have Boomer is hanging out there. Molly is hanging out right there. And Abby just picked right there. I don't know why. Because the bed is upside down maybe? Who knows? And bed upside down early when he was playing. But then I told him to stop that. So he walked away from it, which is great, but it's still upside down. So listen, you guys, I want to help you out. If you guys have questions about your dogs or what's going on, I've had some interesting questions come up lately. I actually have a new blog topic that we're going to write about. Hey, Molly girl. We had some things come up. I had a meeting with my senior trainer today, and she was telling me she had like 3 or 4 clients that have had the same questions or problems in the last week. So we're going to write an article about it to help support those people. But right now, I want to support you guys. And you get to see Molly. She came to photobomb. So listen, I'm going to do the best I can. Don't ask me questions all at the same time. But somebody asks a question, I'm happy to answer it. And then when I'm done answering that one, I'm happy to answer the next one. So you can just post them up as I'm winding down the answer to one. If you have another question, jump in and I will answer it for you. So if anybody has any pressing questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If you don't, I'm going to ramble on about other things. Touch-sensitive dog, counter conditioning with clicker. Awesome. And Kim, you asked me that already, didn't you? Did you ask me, are you the one who's asked me this specific question before as far as could I do a whole scope on that? I thought about you. I have a video. You are awesome. Thank you for asking again, Kim. I was thinking about you. This past week I had a dog that was in for a board and train, living with me for a week, and she was not touch aggressive. Like, it's not like if I touched her, she'd bite me, but when I tried to brush her, she would try to bite me just to try to get me to stop brushing her. It wasn't real. Like, she wasn't really actually going to bite me. It's just she'd learned that worked for her in the past. If she tried to bite people, they would stop. And so that was interesting. And I videotaped it for her owners. And I really was thinking about taking that video and turning it into a YouTube. I appreciate your comment. We're going to really focus mostly on dogs in this Periscope. So if you're interested in dogs, this is the place to be. If you're interested in anything else, this is probably not the right scope for you. So I videotaped that, Kim, and I was going to turn it into a YouTube video specifically around that. Like, how do you handle, oh, you'll just listen tonight? Okay, Tony, no problem. You can catch me in the Facebook group, too, for Manners Matter if you have longer questions. To do the basics over 3 years old? No. Quick answer, Mark, no, not at all, no. You can train a dog any age to do whatever you want. So, Kim, I want to highlight a little bit with that counter conditioning. So I'm going to spend a minute to answer this question. Counter conditioning with an animal to brush them that might try to bite you. So the whole point, especially, I would clicker train, and then I would have some sort of way to communicate to the dog when they're doing something wrong. So for me, a lot of times I'll just say no and use a squirt bottle to squirt the dog in the face. If you're comfortable or you want to learn specifically how to use an e-collar, you could also interchange something like that as far as a correction for a dog, but you can't start. I don't start an e-collar at a correction. So for the sake of the argument in this conversation, I'll talk about no and squirt. So if you set a dog up for grooming, start slow, introduce the brush, let them sniff the brush, click and treat anytime their mouth is closed. And really, the slower the better. Slow and steady is going to win the race. Use treats, Kim, that are incredibly high value. You're going to want to try to make it worth this dog's while to keep their mouth closed while you're doing stuff to them that may or may not be uncomfortable. So, I mean, if your dog is matted or tangled and stuff, I mean, brushing a dog could actually be quite painful. So keep that in mind. And there are going to be places on your dog's body that will be easier for you to brush, and there's going to be places on your dog's body that are harder for you to brush. So you're going to want to start your, thank you for sharing, you're going to want to start your training on the part of your body the dog's body that's easiest. So sometimes for the dog, that's like right down the middle of their back. Every dog is a little bit different. So I know Molly, who's right here with me on the couch, she doesn't like it if I touch her face, her hair around her face, if I wipe her eyes. She just, like, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch. She hates it. But she's fine if I brush her back. So Kim, specifically working with your dog that you talked about being potentially aggressive as you're brushing, you're going to want to figure out, thank you, Caitlin, for sharing. You're going to want to figure out where is the easiest place. But chances are that dog already just has a negative association with the brush. So you could spend the next week, basically, and just counter condition with respect to what does the brush mean to this dog. So I'm just going out on a limb and saying, like, let's just pretend that filet mignon steak is like the best possible reward you could ever imagine this dog eating. And imagine if every time you held up the brush, you got a little teeny piece of steak. You could use cheese, you could use hot dog, you could use really anything that your dog would find particularly valuable. So hold up the brush, click, treat with a really valuable treat. You could do that as many times as you want, and you can see how that's going to start to counter condition even what does it look like to the dog. What does it look like to the dog when the dog sees the brush? What's the reaction from your dog when he sees the brush? If you spend, Kim, if you spend a significant amount of your time, effort, and energy on the foundation of recreating what is your dog's association with the brush, you'll probably see a pretty big change in behavior pretty quickly. And anytime your dog opens their mouth towards the brush or towards your hand or does something in that regard that they shouldn't, if you can be really clear on saying the word no and then having some sort of tangible consequence, so squirting them, something like that, then as long as they keep their mouth closed, then you would click and treat. Does that make sense, Kim? I hope it does. But slow and steady, really, slow and steady is going to win the race. You are very, very welcome. You want to be super slow in recreating for that dog what the brush means. Because right now he probably sees the brush and he's like, I can't wait to bite you. And then you want to make sure, of course you want to make sure as you do that training that you are safe. That's the biggest priority. So I had a little Shih Tzu last week that was maybe 6 pounds on a good day. And she get a little bit aggressive with brushing. And so, but even I was really careful making sure that I was safe. I put her on a higher level. And I tethered her like up, a slip lead around her collar and held it up a little higher. I tethered her above her head so that she wouldn't really be able to bite me. It would have been hard for her to actually bite me. So Kim, be sure that you're really safe. Awesome. Dog Mama's here. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Listen, I saw somebody else. Let's see. We'd love tips on how to get dogs not to jump on me when I enter their home. You're a dog walker. How would you train excited peeing? Kaylin. Awesome. Thanks, Kaylin, for asking. We can ask you anything. Yes, except I can't answer everything at once. But that's the goal, is you can ask me. Let me put a caveat on that. You can ask me anything about dog training. Okay, awesome. Collar training question. And yeah, so somebody asked, thank you, Darren. Somebody asked about leash walking. You had a question about... you might have to ask again, choke collar or harness, I think maybe you had said, and I want to address that. So for me, leash walking is a pretty big topic, and so I want to just make sure, whoever asked that question about leash walking, maybe ask it again. But for me, the topic about leash walking, yes, there's obviously, you have to have the right tool for the job. But more than anything, it's all about energy, your energy and your connection with your dog. And mostly that starts with foundation work that happens long before you put the leash on and try to go for a walk. So, but you asked about, I think it was harness versus choke collar. I don't like choke collars. I would use a prong collar any day of the week. I would never use a choke collar because there's just no stop to it. If the dog kept pulling and pulling and pulling, you would damage their throat. And the prong collar actually has a stopper on it that it can't get too tight when they're pulling like that. So, and it's much more effective than the choke collar. So I generally use a prong collar with most of the dogs that I train. If I use a harness with a dog, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, a harness's effectiveness, if you use an easy walk where it clips in the front, the effectiveness is about a 5 out of 10. Where a prong collar is a 9 or a 10 out of 10 with regards to effectiveness, as long as you use it properly. I never, ever, ever put a prong collar on a dog with the intention of jerking it or pulling it to try to get it to comply. So I put a prong collar on a dog, and then I work a lot of energy work with looking to have the dog be really connected and focused with me. And my goal is that I never actually have to pull back on that dog. Obviously, I can handle it if they're going to lunge or pull. I can pull against it and have it mean something. I'm not going to be like a little rag doll being pulled behind the dog down the street. But it's really important. It's not just to put it on and jerk, jerk, jerk. The prong collar also has to be fit properly. So a prong collar is going to go up pretty high, close to the dog's ears, right around the top of their throat, and it's going to be fairly snug. You don't want to be too tight. And so you need to be able to do it correctly. What is your best tip for one dog to go along with another and your dog always tries to run well on the leash? Awesome, thank you. So I do some scopes. I'll do in a second, I will talk about socializing dogs with other dogs, but for right now I'll do a little bit more with the leash work. So I have done some scopes in the past on a calming technique with dogs. It's come up several times in the scopes, and so with a dog that always gets too excited when on leash, I would do a lot of work that I do with my calming exercise with dogs. So if you are new to me and want to go back and look at my previous scopes, feel free. And if someone could type this in for me, it would be awesome. But you can find my previous scopes on Catch catch.me. It's with a K, KATCH.me / my name on Periscope is KimPawsnPoss. It's also my handle on Twitter, so if you ever have other questions, you can always reach me also on Twitter. So look for calming exercises, periscopes, for a dog that's too excited on a leash, because that's an exercise where your dog is on a leash and you are specifically teaching your dog how to be calm. Awesome, so do that. Does that make sense? Can someone type that in for me? I'm not seeing any comments right now, so you never know with Periscope if that's because no one has anything to say or if there's some sort of a glitch. You're very welcome. I saw that comment, perfect. So you can look for calming exercises. Hello, thank you for saying something, Tony. Awesome, so, and I want to talk about socialization. Somebody said, what's the best way to introduce two dogs? I think that was the question. What's the best way to introduce two dogs to each other? Catch.me. That is correct. And if you want to go specifically to my page, you would follow that with / KimPawsnPoss. Same user handle as Periscope. And that would take you directly to my page on catch.me that has all my old Periscopes. Feel free to watch them, share them if you find any particular thing interested. Thank you very much, Dog Mama. I appreciate that's exactly right. So many rude people. I know. I think when I do, thank you, Darren. I think when I do Periscopes at night, I get a little bit more rude people. Looney, I know. I'm blocking them as they come, so they'll filter out, and we'll be left just with the people who want to know all about dogs, which is the best kind of people out there. So bear with me as I block these people. So I appreciate your patience too with them. And you never know what you're going to get on Periscope. So socializing two dogs. If it's two dogs that haven't met, so I might need some more information exactly what you're looking for. So feel free, if you're the one who asked that question, chime back in with follow-up questions. But my biggest advice, it's good as I was wanting to get them. Yeah, thank you, Tony. Thanks for sticking up for me. I feel like you've got my back. I appreciate that, buddy. And my husband's watching too. So Tony, if you weren't going to get them, he would get them. So don't you worry about that either. So anyway, two dogs socializing, meeting, especially for the first time. My biggest advice is that you need to introduce them slowly. Most people, listen to this, like when humans walk up to each other, we walk up to each other and it's very common for us to greet face to face. Like we just walk right up, we shake hands, like here we are, doing in the house even after work, chewing random things, chew toy. Okay. So let me answer this one first and I'll try to get to those. You might have to remind me your question if I forget it, but I'll cycle through. So when people greet, they go face to face and they walk right up and shake hands and meet. Thank you. And so when dogs meet, think of it a little bit more as like a yin and yang. Like in the dog world, when they're completely free and off leash, they'll walk up to meet each other and usually like a little bit sideways and curve around each other, and then they end up like a little bit on the side of their face and down their body, and of course they end up like circling around sniffing each other's butts. But it's really rare that two dogs would ever approach face to face. And so you have to keep that in mind when you're introducing dogs, because if we're on a leash and we're going to introduce them to another dog on a leash, we usually walk right straight up to the other person, which puts the dogs in an awkward position of greeting face to face. So I would almost always set it up so that they can come and greet on an angle. It's less threatening for them as they do that, if this is greeting on leash. But even if they're on leash, what I recommend a lot of times is to have two people walking the dogs, but actually have both people walking, I can't keep doing this, both people walking in a circle. So, and what that gives you is that the dog that's always goes to the face, and it bothers that other dog. It does bother other dogs because it's rude in the dog world. I know, snapping pots. It's rude in the dog world, and I would recommend you train your dog not to go directly up to another dog's face, because that's not a very, it's a very brash way to say hello to another dog. And you can manage that a lot of times with your body positioning and how you direct your dog. And if you come up to the side and if your body is sort of by the other dog's face, they won't be able to go right up to their face. So you can condition them to them. Interesting protocol. So yeah, if you have two dogs kind of circling around behind each other, what you get the value of that, you don't underestimate the value of their sense of smell. So if this dog is walking this way and this one's behind it, this dog will get to sniff where the first dog went, and this dog will get to sniff where the second dog went multiple times as they're circling around in the same space. and then they can like cross paths and go around and like do all sorts of different, like they just end up sharing the same space together and then sometimes walking together and then separating again. This is for those who don't know how to intro properly. It's for dogs that may have trouble integrating quickly or calmly or easily. Dogs that aren't really good at learning to introduce to another dog. This helps set the stage and go nice and slow. And I'm not sure if they live longer. You need to feed them healthy food. So just like people, they need to eat healthy. And some people food is healthy for dogs and some people food is not healthy for dogs or for people. So if you're feeding healthy food regardless, that's going to help them live longer. So anyway, so circling around, socializing a dog like that, that's really slow and steady. And then sometimes by the time they spend enough time, it's like they get bored. They get over that initial like, oh, there's a dog. And if they can then finally actually introduce each other to each other when they are over the hump of the excitement level, then you get two dogs that are calm when they meet. And if you have two dogs that are calm when they meet, the probability that it goes well is significantly higher, if that makes sense. Awesome. I think I had a question earlier that was a dog walker. Yep, and thank you, Darren. Pooping in the house after walks. I think even before that, though, a dog walker asked about jumping. So if I were a dog walker and I was going into someone's house to get their dog, of course I would have permission from the owners, but I'm a big fan of just say no and squirt them in the face with a water bottle. And after you do that, you need to be completely neutral and kind of ignore them. And if you were a dog walker, I would open up the door. If they jump on you, say no and squirt, close the door, go back outside. Wait a couple seconds, open up the door. They jump on you, say no and squirt them, go back outside. You can cycle through that a couple times, and then assuming that these dogs can have treats, which would be awesome, then if you go into the house and they don't jump on you, you can click and give them a treat. That would be an awesome way to condition these dogs to not jump on you as you go to walk them. Cool. So somebody said something about a German Shepherd, and somebody, I think was a German Shepherd, yeah, a German Shepherd was pooping in the house even after a walk. So great that you included the breed, German Shepherd, but it happens with a lot of dogs. Oftentimes when we take our dogs for a walk, we think, well gosh, if we walk them long enough, they're gonna go to the bathroom. But if it's a working breed, and I think we would all agree that a German Shepherd is a working breed. I had the same case recently with a Border Collie, again, working breed. I had one with a Poodle, working breed, where these owners were telling me that they would walk their dog for like an hour or an hour and a half, and they would get home and then the dog would go to the bathroom in the house almost right away. If you have a working breed and you're going for a walk, most of the time your dog is working. Imagine a Border Collie. This is a good example. Imagine a Border Collie that was off herding sheep. You're a farmer, you've got 1,000 acres, and seriously? Yeah, Tony, seriously. You have like 1,000 acres and you're herding sheep and you're moving them from one place to the other. Can you imagine your Border Collie in the middle of herding a whole herd of sheep from one pasture to the other being like, oh, you know what? Hang on a second. I think I'm going to go relieve myself over here in this high bush and I'll be back to work in a few minutes. I'm just going to go like take a little break. Not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Those dogs are working. And so for me, I generally, when I'm walking a dog, yes, there is a way to get your dog to not despise it. And if you watch the replay, yeah, we'll never poop on walk either, only off leash. So sometimes that's conditioning. Yeah. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take a dog and have them have a spot. Yeah, exactly. To go to the bathroom. You're getting to me. Thank you, Darren, by the way. I'll take a dog outside to go to the bathroom and I'll walk them around in a circle, kind of boring and like whatever. And then when they go to the bathroom, I'll reinforce them and I'll take them for a walk. So the walk is the reinforcement for having gone to the bathroom. The walk is not, for me, a means to get them to go to the bathroom. And so a lot of times, your dog is crazy. How do I train him? You should take my online Manners Matter course if your dog is crazy and you don't know how to train them. And you can find the information on my website, which is Paws and Possibilities. You are very, very welcome, Jamac. It's hard to read, 1985. Manners Matter. So there's a short link to it. It's just bit.ly/Manners Matter with capital M for manners and capital M for matters. Manners Matter. And if you have a crazy dog and you don't know how to train them and you don't know where to start, Manners Matter is going to be the answers that you are looking for. So thank you very much, Darren, for throwing that up there for me. That if you put that link in, you'll get there. You can find it at my website also. Manners Matter has a big link right from the homepage. And you'll find it really specializes in teaching dogs to be well-mannered. And so if you have this huge general problem with regards to overexcitement and not knowing where to start, that's a really simple program that guides you through step by step to get you there. Awesome. I think we had a question. Gosh, this is so hard to remember everything. I think there was a question about chewing. Only goes to the bathroom on a walk, even if it's raining. So I would, personally, chewing. Yeah, I would change that with a rat terrier because I don't want to go on a walk if it's raining. That's just me. I would switch it up to be like, you go to the bathroom where I tell you to, when I tell you to. Heel, I'm assuming you mean H-E-E-L, heel, like dog heeling on a leash. And I want to talk about chewing. Somebody said, if you're still here and you ask the question about chewing, repost it. I'm having trouble remembering the whole question. But chewing is, of course, a big topic. If your dog is chewing things they're not supposed to be chewing, and I think you were saying that you were having trouble getting them to chew what you wanted them to chew, you're going to click and treat. If you guys, is there anybody that's not familiar with chewing random things? Awesome. Thank you for saying that again. Is there anybody out here, especially if you're new to me, they poop and pee in the rain no matter what, get them used to the rain. Yeah, I know. If you're new to me, some people, I'm saying click and treat. Some people might not know what that means. And they grow like crazy. Oh, I'm so sorry. They grow so fast. That makes your job harder. I would recommend trying to clip one nail a day and cycle through every day, just one nail. That's one thing. So click and treat. Do you guys know what that means? Is there anybody that doesn't know what that means? I'll say hi Joy, and I'll say hi Tiger, hi Abby, hi Millie, because they're probably all watching the Periscope. And Joy, if you watch the replay, I talked about Millie earlier because somebody was asking about grooming a dog that tried to bite them. So I shared a little with Millie, with what I did with Millie. No, you don't. You don't know what I mean by click and treat. Okay, so a clicker is a dog training tool. It's just a thing that makes a little bit of noise, and you can get it at any pet store. And if you click, it's 100% of the time followed by a treat. So you click, you give your dog a treat. You click, you give them a treat. It's like now you're playing Pavlov, and you're making an association between the two things that they're going to be connected. When the dog hears the click, they're going to know they're getting a treat. And the reason that that's so effective is because you can, now you can use it for really well timing. Tiger's watching right now. Hi, Tiger. The clicker is really effective for highlighting, capturing the moment in time that your dog is doing something that you like. So that's one way. When you're working with a dog who's chewing inappropriate things, I would click and treat anytime your dog is chewing something he's supposed to be chewing. So you click, if he picks up a dog toy and starts to play with it, I would click and give him a treat. See you later, Tony. Absolutely. Message on Facebook anytime. Thanks. Have a good night. And now on the opposite side, I use a similar system in that if a dog is doing something wrong, I say no at the moment that they're doing it wrong to capture that moment in time for them, almost like you're taking a picture of the moment that they're doing something wrong. And then try this. Try just a little squirt bottle. It can be on mist. It can be on really anything you want. Just plain water. You don't need anything else. Point it at his face. If he starts to chew on something inappropriate in the house that he shouldn't be, say no and just squirt him. Now, you need to say no calmly. You need to deliver this whole system calmly. Don't get emotional. Don't get upset. Don't freak out. Just nice and calm, no, and squirt. And then once you squirt, I want you to disengage from your dog. Don't look at him. Don't interact with him. Don't talk to him. Don't pay any attention to him for about 20 or 30 seconds. So that way you can deliver the information that he needs to learn. I want to capture that moment in time and let you know I don't like it. And we're going to compare that to capturing the moment in time and telling him that you do like it. And literally from like a psychology textbook is that those times that you're giving him things that he likes, he'll be more likely to act like that again in the future. And the time that you're giving him things that you don't like, he'll be less likely to act like that again in the future. And if you're pretty consistent, you're managing him well, he's not left unattended to just chew whatever he wants when no one's watching him. Like you're in the room with him and you're watching him, you're supervising him, you're managing him well. That's the kind of behavior that can change in a matter of just a couple of days. Does that make sense? Cool. Awesome. Darren, if you're still out there, you can help me out. I have no idea which question is next in the queue of what order we're going in. You are very, very welcome, DWW1983. I don't know what your name is, but you are very, very welcome. It is my pleasure to help. And you have to keep me posted on how that works, or if you still have some issues or problems, there's some troubleshooting we can always do depending on what type of chewing you're seeing. Hello, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. So I don't know which question's next. I actually can't right now remember what question was next, and I don't know. I don't remember any of the other questions I saw. Somebody was asking about food. Feed your dogs really good food. Jack Russell, 10 years old, just started getting into things like the trash. You had to crate during the day. Crating during the day is not a problem. I'm a huge fan of managing a dog to make sure that they're safe, because if he's going to start to investigate or get into things like the trash when you're not home, that's a life-threatening behavior. Like, he might just eat something in the trash and you're like, oh, don't go through the trash. He might eat something dangerous. You're talking life-threatening surgery, thousands of dollars, not worth it. And for me, I have no problems putting a dog in a crate when I'm at home, because they're gonna, diver-free gum. I don't know what that means, but I don't know what that means. I can't even guess what that means. Sugar-free gum. Yeah, sugar-free gum is so dangerous. I mean, it could kill the dog. Your dog could be dead before you even get home. So I don't have any issues crating them. When you crate a dog, your goal is that they're going to be calm and relaxed and sleeping when you're not around, and that's what you want them to be doing anyway. Don't feel guilty about leaving your dog in your crate 1 second. The only thing you should feel guilty about is if from the morning you get up the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, the only thing that you should feel guilty about is if you have a dog and during that time, the entire time that you're awake, you don't pay any attention to your dog and you don't give him any of the resources that he needs to thrive. So if you don't take him for a walk, if you don't play with him, if you don't feed him good food, you don't interact with him much, if he's in a crate the whole time you're at work and then you get home and you keep him in the crate and maybe you let him out to go to the bathroom, you put him back in the crate, maybe then you could start to feel guilty. If it's for keeping him safe when you're not home, you have nothing to feel guilty about. In fact, I guarantee you would feel significantly more guilty if you left him out of his crate and he got into a problem while you were not home. And I hear all of the horror stories of things that happen in the dog training world, so trust me, there are some horror stories out there. You don't want to be involved in that. She's spoiled rotten. I know. I can tell she's spoiled. If you feel guilty that she's in a crate, I already know she's spoiled rotten. You don't even have to tell me that. Not a problem. You can still spoil her, but your job as her mom is to make sure she's safe. That said, there's also ways, she's been free for 9 years. Yeah, but for whatever reason, something changed. And so that's fine. There's also ways, let's see, Pity Valley wants to play with the cats. Them not so much. He chases and barks and pounces. Okay, perfect. 7-month-old Pity. I'll help you with that in a second. Let me finish with the trash. So there are ways to train a dog not to go through the trash. So if that were an issue, like let's say you're home. Oh, that was Sherry Helen that just said that. I didn't see that was you, Sherry, that said that about your pit. So if you want to train your dog not to go to the trash, that's a different story. So I can do that and I can help you with that. But the issue is if your dog is getting into things it shouldn't be getting into when you're not home, it shouldn't be left unattended. So you see, I'm not trying to avoid answering your question. I have a couple tools. Awesome, Sherry, I'll help you with that just a second. I have a couple tools that I use to teach dogs not to go through trash. Most of them are going to be significantly more effective when you're in the house. Like if they try to go through a trash can when you're not looking, like the bathroom trash can when you're home, but you're in the family room and they sneak off of the bathroom and like try to filter through the trash. There are some little lasers or little tools that you can use that just identify for you when they're doing that. The easiest one, the cheapest one that I use is it's like a window alarm. It's 2 pieces that are like, it's almost like magnets. And if they separate, it chimes. It's designed for like if you go into a store and you open up the door, it's like ding ding, like someone's here. So if you use one of those and you rest them together in the trash can and the dog like filters around in the trash can, they would easily fall apart. And if they fall apart, if they slip apart, it would chime. Once it chimes, that, for all intents and purposes, that has captured the moment in time that your dog has done something you don't like, and all you need to do is find your dog and squirt them. It doesn't matter where they are in that moment, just find them and squirt them and then reset up. It's like a little booby trap. You can put those like in like a pair of shoes if you have a dog that likes to steal shoes, anytime when they would separate like that. Cool? Awesome. Now, Sherry, let me help you with your pit bull and your cats. So, you know, I'm sure by now, you're very, very welcome, that one of my biggest things about dog training is that I want you to make sure you have a really clear definition. I don't know what hatch means, but so you need to have a clear definition. If you have a clear definition of what you want, the training is easier. So with your pit bulls, you need to figure out, with your cats or your dog and your cat, you need to figure out what's the definition. What are you expecting? What are you wanting? What's allowed? What's not allowed? That's the first step. So with a dog that wants to play with the cat, but the cat that doesn't want to play with the dog, my recommendation for your definition is that the dog is not allowed to move towards the cat, at least with the intention. Hello from Turkey, thanks for being here. Your dog cannot move towards your cat, at least with the intention of that it's because of the cat. So if the cat's here and the dog is like heading to the kitchen, I'm fine with that. But if the dog is over here and the cat's here and it's right, calm when the cats come around. That's your definition. You want the dog to be calm. So lots of the calming exercise that I've talked about, that you know about, I'm sure already, right? Lots of the calming exercise. You can do that calming exercise with a leash under your foot while the cats are around, milling around. I would definitely keep your dog managed well. So I would thank you very much. I appreciate that. We're just going to talk about the dogs right now. So keep the leash under your foot. Keep the dog on a leash so that even if he tries to chase the cats, he's not actually going to get to chase the cats. Does that make sense? You don't want him to actually fulfill on the desire to chase the cat and actually get to chase the cat and have the cat running from him, because obviously that's not going to help you in your training. So lots of leash management, lots of making sure, lots of clicking and treating for being calm around the cats. This kind of thing, I just worked with a client last week that had a very similar situation of their dog chasing after their cat. It changed almost overnight when the dog figured out it had two choices, black and white. If you are calm around the cat, I will click and treat. If you are wild around the cat or chase the cat, I will say no and squirt you. If you move towards the cat, if you threaten the cat, if you posture towards the cat, if you bark at the cat, if you stare too long directly at the cat, right? Whatever you want your definition, then I'll say no and squirt. But if you're calm, I'll click and treat. Literally, her dog changed almost overnight. So try that. Let me know how it works. Again, there's lots of tweaking that we can do. If you try the general theme and you still have some issues, there's still tweaks that can happen. Does that make sense? Sherry, does that make sense? And then someone else said you were having the same problem with your dog and a cat. So hopefully that gives you guys some ammunition. I see blue hearts and now no hearts. It feels quiet. No more questions. I feel like you're going to work in that way. Awesome. Good job, Sherry. And then keep me posted. Let me know. You can reach out on Facebook or Twitter anytime too. You don't have to wait for a Periscope question answer to ask about. Definitely keep me posted on how it's going. You are very, very welcome. And I have maybe just a couple more minutes. I could maybe answer one more question. I still have to go put my kids to bed. And the squirt method worked on labs and hounds too. Awesome. Yeah, it will. Are you asking or telling? I can't tell, but either way, the water bottle squirting will, Sherry, I'll answer that question for you. Darren could probably answer that question if he's still watching. You're asking. Awesome. Yeah, it works on anything. And the reason is because even if it's a water dog, it doesn't matter. Dog could love water. And there's Darren saying, no, he doesn't train dogs, but he really does train dogs because he helps me all the time. He says not at all. He's lying. He does. He's not a dog trainer. I just make him help me train the dogs all the time. So he does train dogs. He just doesn't know it. And so anyway, with even if it's a water dog, it doesn't matter. They don't like the fact that He helps, I know, Joy says that Darren helps train, yes, he helped train her dogs last week. They don't like the experience of you telling them no and then knowing that something's coming that they're not going to like. And so, yeah, teamwork is awesome. Thank you, Darren, for all your help. Under duress, he helps me under duress. Darren, I have some videos that I could show people, and you do not look like you were under duress in what you were doing. And that one isn't going to get anything. So does that make sense? They hear the word no, and then they know that the water ball is coming. When you implement the system, do it slowly, because sometimes like the slower that you do it, when you say no, the slower you are to grab the squirt bottle and then squirt them, the worse it is for the dog, because they're literally like, it's coming, and then literally like this little mist comes towards them, and it's nothing, but they make it up to be like it's kind of a big deal. So that was kind of a long answer to your hound question. Just keep at it. Oh, cool. Sherry, thank you for saying that. And your lab is really stubborn and hard-headed. Yeah. So, Sherry, be really, really careful that you are super slow and quiet and still when you implement it. And because you don't want your energy about Caesar. Yeah, I'll answer that in a second. E-collar. Okay. Oh, I didn't see the e-collar question. So I must have missed that one. So if you're calm and quiet and slow in your delivery, it will sometimes disperse the wild and crazy excitement of the squirt. So keep at it and see how it goes. If you like literally like super slow, relax yourself, make sure you don't get sucked into that energy. It's gonna be hard because I know you get like, oh, you're chasing the cat again, how could you, crazy, but pretend like you're me. Does squirting stress them out? I don't know. I would say they asked how you feel about an e-collar. Thank you, Joy, for retelling me the question. I don't think that squirting, I mean, I think that squirting a dog would stress them out. Personally, I think that the inappropriate behavior that they are doing at the time when we say no and squirt them is more stressful to the dog than the short-term, let me correct you effectively to get you to stop doing this so that long-term you can have a peaceful life. I hope that makes sense. So does it stress them out? I haven't seen a dog get super stressed out by me saying no and squirting them. I've seen one dog. One dog that I've worked with in the past 7 years that I would say was really stressed out about it. I said no and squirted him. By the way, it was a border collie that was chasing cats, coincidentally. I said no and squirted him with a water bottle, and he ran upstairs and got in his crate, and he didn't want to come back out. And we ended up ending the session, and I came back to their house the following week, and he came to the door with his mom, and she opened up the door. He took one look at me and ran upstairs and got in his crate. He was like, no way, I don't want any part of it. So that dog was probably stressed out because I squirted him. But guess what? That was 7 years ago, and that took one squirt. Now this is rare, okay? So Sherry, don't think that this is gonna happen for you. This is rare. It took one squirt, and that dog has never chased a cat before. In 7 years, he hasn't done it since. So was it worth the stress that he had to endure that one day? Yeah, because he lives peacefully with those cats now, where it was a sense of constant stress before the training happened. So, and somebody asked how I feel about e-collars. E-collars, I think, are a phenomenal tool for training a dog under the right circumstances and with the right direction. I work with e-collars typically on very low levels in helping the dogs learn how to do behaviors and be reliable off-leash. I never, ever, ever would want somebody to ever go out to the store and buy an e-collar and go home, put it on their dog and try to use it if they haven't had a professional teach them how to do it. It's a tool that you could do some damage with, sure, but if you don't do it right, but so is any other tool. And I look at that as like, if you put a flap, I mean, I have a lot of people bring me dogs for training and they walk in the door with a flat buckle collar and a leash, a plain flat buckle collar and a plain leash, and their dog is pulling so hard that I'm concerned they're going to injure themselves. So I'm a big fan of using tools that are effective for getting the job done, and depending on the dog, I'll use whatever tool the dog needs me to use to get the work done. So I'm a huge fan of e-collars for dogs, especially if the owners want or need off-leash reliability, because the way I use it and the way I train with it at very, very low levels, it is almost as if it is then an invisible leash, so that you can still manage the dog's behavior even at long distances. You are I appreciate the compliment. Perfect explanation. I appreciate the compliment. And so it's interesting because my background in professional training, I was a dolphin trainer for 10 years. And I really, in that era, I mean, in 10 years of dolphin training, I only used positive reinforcement in training. And I'm an expert at using positive reinforcement for training a dog. No doubt about it. I haven't seen anybody that can use it better than what I do with it. I just don't limit myself to only using positive reinforcement when I'm training a dog, because I don't really think it's fair to the dog. And the way I often will talk to people about that is saying, do you remember the game? Just say yes if you remember. Do you remember the game when you were little that was hot and cold? That somebody would pick, like, I want you to go spin in a circle in the middle of the room, and then you come into the room and they're trying to get you to do it by saying hot or cold. Do you guys remember that game? Somebody say yes. Yeah, okay, perfect, good. So imagine if you were going to try to play hot and cold, but you were only allowed to say hot. And imagine if you started by sitting on the couch and what they wanted you to do was go to the kitchen and touch the refrigerator. Oh, that's a compliment. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to answer about Caesar. So what if you wanted to go touch the refrigerator over this way, and you got up and went this way, like down the hallway towards the back of the house, and nobody could say cold, and they could only say hot? You could spend half an hour down on that side of the house, and in the meantime, you would be bored and frustrated and probably upset and angry and probably hate that game. Like, I hate this game. I never want to play this game again. But the way I look at it is, if you stand up and you take the first step in that direction and someone says cold, you'd be like, oh, that's not right? Great, I'll try something else. So that's the way I look at that with regards to training dogs, is like, I want to be able to tell them, yes, you're right. And I really want to tell them effectively, yes, you're right. Yes, you're doing the right thing. I also want to be able to tell them, oops, that's not right. I don't want that. Because most dogs have a drive to please you. And if you can really clearly and effectively tell them, that part's not right, I don't want that, they will gladly go and do the thing you want. And most people run into a problem and an issue in the fact that they aren't able to be effective in the way that they're telling their dog what they want him to do, and that most people end up accidentally reinforcing stuff that they don't want. Which is why I actually have a free download on my website. Thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment. I have a free download on my website. So if you haven't downloaded it, download it. I recommend it. It's free. Get it. Go to my website. It's KimPawsnPossibilities.com. And there's a link to that in the bio on my Periscope page. Or if someone could type it in, that would also be awesome. KimPawsnPossibilities.com. Right on the homepage, right there in the middle. I think it's called, if you want do you want a better behaved dog? Then you need to avoid this one critical mistake. That is a free download all about the biggest mistakes that people make when they're trying to train their dogs, which is linked to this. It's like that they're accidentally reinforcing stuff that they don't want. But the article is written in a way that is super clear. It explains it like kids can understand it. It is super simple. And everyone that reads it says it just makes a huge difference in helping them out. Awesome. And then somebody said, how do I feel about Caesar? Some of the stuff that Caesar does, I love. Some of the stuff that Caesar does, I don't necessarily agree with, which is, oh, thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that. Some of the stuff that Sherry does, I don't, Sherry, not Sherry. Some of the stuff that Caesar does, I don't agree with, but I can honestly tell you that would probably be my same description of every other trainer that I've ever met, because training is such a combination of art and science that everybody does it just a little bit different. And the thing that I think I'm most thankful for with regards to Caesar is that he's brought dog training more into the common conversation in people's homes, that more people think about dog training or talk about dog training than ever before because of his presence in the industry. So, but I appreciate the compliment. I definitely take it. I'll take it as a compliment. I appreciate that. So I just need a TV crew to follow me around every day, and I'll be just as famous. Cool. You agree. Thank you very much. You guys, I'm so glad that y'all popped in. I think we had some awesome questions. Hopefully you guys have some great tools to start working with. I am gonna actually wrap this up, go say goodnight to my kids. He didn't do marine mammals. Caesar didn't train marine mammals, no. And I had such a cool experience. So I grew up training horses, and then in the 10 years that I worked marine mammals, I worked dolphins, sea lions, seals, exotic birds, and penguins. You are very welcome. And so in all of that time, I just had such a luxury, such an opportunity to learn so much about so many different types of animals and training. I have some awesome stories, and I love to share them. I love to talk about them. But it's awesome, it's perfect, and it's all applicable to what you guys are doing with your dogs every single day. So that's why I'm here. I like to share with you, help you out just as much as I can, support you. For those of you that have tapped the screen and given hearts during the broadcast, I really appreciate it. I just noticed yesterday that I went over 400,000 hearts, which is just so exciting. So now my next goal will be 500,000 hearts, which is just, it blows my mind to think about, just knowing, recognizing how much you guys appreciate the value that I always strive to give. So I appreciate the hearts. I definitely appreciate the people that share. Those of you that share this broadcast on Facebook or Periscope or Twitter, I cannot thank you enough, because you sharing the broadcast enables other people to hear about dog training in a way that they might not have ever thought about it before. And it touches people that I wouldn't have the capability of touching if it weren't for you sharing. So I really, really want to acknowledge those of you that shared the broadcast. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. If you have friends or family that have dogs, share the broadcast. I think they will also appreciate hearing the information, getting the word out there. My goal is that we have a world full of well-mannered dogs, and I'm going to do it one dog at a time. So I always love it when you guys are here, so I can help you with your dogs as well. Awesome. I'm going to wrap it up. You guys have a fantastic night, and I will see everybody tomorrow. Take care.